Another marketing area that I want to ask you about is that many B2B and SaaS companies have leveraged content marketing over the last 10 years. It's been the way that they have educated, engaged, and arguably entertained prospects and customers. For a long time, that was a recipe for success. If you created content that quote unquote delivered value or insight, it was a way of positioning your brand as a go to resource and to drive brand awareness and thought leadership. The game has changed in the past year with the launch of ChatGPT, in that it has made it easy to create and scale content. I would argue that the content isn't that good and that ChatGPT and generative AI are not shortcuts. A couple questions. One is, in your mind, do you think that content marketing continue to be an effective tool for B2B and SaaS companies? Everyone talks about value these days. You talk to a guy like Ross Simmons, who's a very well-known content marketer. It's about value. My pushback to him and to other marketing leaders is, how do you define value? Because to one type of customers, value could be in-depth guides, and to other types of customers, it could be listicles that are easy to consume. Two-part question here. One, do you think content marketing is still a key and valuable tool for B2B and SaaS companies? And two, how do you define value when it comes to content marketing?
I think content marketing is essential, especially as I'm working with early stage startups that are starting from scratch in creating their marketing strategy. Content plays a role in both attracting new leads, but also really moving them forward in the buying process. And so I like to think about creating a content strategy in three parts. It has to start with laying the foundation with your three P's and your messaging. So first, you really need to know, who are you talking to? How are you different and better? What is the personality that you use to communicate consistently? And what are those key messages? But then you need to think about, what content do you need to create to move a person from one phase of the customer journey to the next? And without content, frankly, you're making your sales team work too hard. They're coming into a conversation where someone doesn't know much about your product. You haven't helped shape their thinking around what's different and valuable. And you also are potentially doing way too much to go out and prospect to find leads without having leads discover and come to you. So, step one is understand what part of the customer journey you need to influence and prioritize that. And again, to attract leads, it's really about compelling hooks that speak to a problem or a symptom that they're having that makes them think, I want to know more about this. It feels like this could address something I'm dealing with. Or the nurture phase, which is really showing and proving that you deliver value and you do it in a better way than your competition. So that's part one. Part two is really thinking about a core content calendar. What content, and this gets to your value question, what content can you create that is meaningful to your customer and answers questions they have, anticipates what they're going to need to move forward in the buying process, and that's timely and relevant. So as you think about each quarter of the year, what are seasonal milestones that are on your customers' minds or your prospects' minds? What's happening in their businesses that they care a lot about, whether it's peak season for them or it's a time of year where sales will be slow and they might be doing more internal work. So really being aware of what's on their mind and will grab their attention, and then deciding what intentional pieces of content you'll create that will help that customer move forward, but also piques their interest based on what's happening externally. And then the third part is really thinking about channel distribution. So you've got these core pieces of content that can help move someone forward in the sales process. But rather than thinking channel by channel, what do I create for LinkedIn? What types of paid ads do I create? What do I say at the panel at my next conference? Really think about how you can take that core content and splice it up, distribute it in different ways. So for instance, I'm working with one climate tech company that's come up with an assessment to help companies figure out where they are on the path to net zero. That content is an incredible nurture piece. It lives on their website and they pull people into it, but they've also spliced it up into hooks for paid ads on LinkedIn. It's been the source of multiple posts on LinkedIn, just organic social. They have had a webinar that they hosted speaking specifically about the steps of the assessment. That piece of content has helped them do a lot of things to bring in more prospects and nurture them. I would say value at its root is what addresses a customer question or a prospect's question and moves them forward towards making a decision.